As we start to look at more and more challenging programming interview questions, we will end up needing more and more utility functions to do little tasks for us. One such task is the ability to create random integers within a given range, and that is a utility function that we will create in this lesson, and this is something that I've used even outside of the context of a programming interview, so let's go. JavaScript runtimes provide a native function for you to get a random number starting at 0 but less than 1. This function is called math.random, and here's an example of us logging out 5 of these values so you get the general idea. Now this is a floating point number starting at 0 but ending right before 1, and the objective is that you can multiply it with the number of buckets that you want. For example, if we were to multiply it with 2, we would essentially get 2 buckets, one starting at 0 but ending right before 1, and a second bucket starting at 1 and ending right before 2. Now with this example in mind, if our objective is to get the integers 0 or 1 randomly, we can do that quite easily with this current value by simply using math.flow, and this will clip the bucket 0 to right before 1 to 0 and clip the bucket 1 to right before 2 to the value 1. And when we run this, this is exactly what we see. Now we're off to a good start. If you wanted more integers beyond the values 0 and 1, all that we really need to do is to multiply with a bigger integer. For example, if you want the values 0 to 99, we have to multiply with 100. And of course, if we run this, we are going to see the values that we expect. Now continuing on our journey, the next thing that we should probably solve is that if we want the value 100 as well, then all that we really need is one more bucket. So we could just do 100 plus 1, and now we should get the values in the range 0 to 100, both inclusive. Now the next thing that we would want to do in a generalized pattern would be to shift the starting value. Right now we are starting at the number 0, but if we want to start at a different number, for example say the number 10, we can do that quite easily by adding 10 to the base value and then removing 10 from the overall number of buckets that we will generate. And that is it. Now we have a generalized pattern of creating an integer randomly starting at a particular value inclusive and ending at a particular value inclusive. But of course, writing this again and again would not be something that would be practical, so let's create a utility function that does the same thing and takes a number of arguments. We have this function randomInt that takes a minimum number and a maximum number and then does exactly what we demonstrated previously, but this time by using the passed-in arguments. And we can have a quick look that it is working as expected by logging out 100 values in the range 1 to 5 inclusive. And when we run this, you can see the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 all on screen. Now I know that there is a lot to take in, so let's do a quick recap. We take math.random and scale it into a number of buckets which we've determined to be max minus min plus 1. We float it down to the integer with math.flow, and finally scale it from the bottom by adding min. Now one more quick tip that I have for you from the programming interview perspective is that even though you could write this randomization inline, it's a good idea to do it as a utility function, as in case of any issues, you can just debug this, and additionally it gives you something to talk about. And that's all for this lesson. Smash that like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.